Marcel Duchamp's urinal, Doris Salcedo's chairs, Jenny Holzer's light projections. All great works of conceptual art. But I want to talk about the guy who painted basically the same painting nearly 3,000 times. My name is Christopher West, and I'm hoping to create a space where we can talk about modern and contemporary art and design in a hopefully non-pretentious way. And today, I want to talk about one of my favorite artists. So who is An Kawara? I think the most important thing to understand is that he was born in Japan in 1932. When most aspiring artists are entering their teenage years, they're likely dreaming of painting pretty landscapes or maybe colorful abstracts. But as Kawara was entering his teen years, he was living through this. Now imagine how that would affect your artwork. Over the course of his career, and not surprisingly, Kawara would become obsessed with time and what it meant to be alive at this moment. For 30 years, Kawara would send telegrams to friends and clients that read simply, "I am still alive." He liked the medium of the telegram because he knew once it was received, the message therein may not be true. An Kawara said, "In a certain sense, the phrase, 'I am still alive' can never be sent, as it cannot be received by the addressee instantaneously. It is only valid at the very instant that it is being written, and in the very next second, it is no longer a certainty." Kawara sent 2 postcards per day, every day, for 11 years to friends and associates. On each postcard, he stamped the date, his name, his current address, and the phrase, "I got up," always in English and always in capital letters, followed by the time he rose from bed. Tourists' picture postcards were always used, and the text was always aligned the same way. This series ended after 11 years because the stamping materials were stolen. They would later be returned, but he would never return to this project. As his reputation grew, Kawara retreated further and further away from the art scene. He refused to be interviewed and didn't even attend his own exhibition openings. In fact, these are the only 2 pictures of the artist I could even find. As a result, his public persona came to be defined only by his artwork. Arguably, his most famous series is called Today, more commonly known as the date paintings. He would work on this series for nearly 5 decades and create almost 3,000 works of art. It was a project that was intended to end only with his death. Each work means nothing more than the day on which it was executed. Always on a monochrome canvas, and always with white letters and numerals. A date painting was begun and finished on the same day it records. And if it was not completed to his satisfaction by midnight, it was destroyed. Given the duration of this project, nearly 50 years, and its flawless execution, I rank the Today series up there with some of the greatest artistic achievements of all time. And I'm not just comparing this with other works of visual art, but some of the greatest literary achievements of all time as well. I had to be reminded that James Joyce's 265,000-word tour de force Ulysses all took place in one day, as did Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. So what could be accomplished in one day? I think a lot, even if it takes 50 years. As a collector and dealer, I'm always interested in the market for a particular piece of art or artist. So how do we value a date painting? Or how do we even value conceptual art at all? The truth is, the art market has not overlooked Kawara's work, and if you're going to want a piece by the artist, you're going to have to pay. Since 1999, his work has been represented by David Zwirner Gallery. Now, if you're not familiar with the Zwirner Gallery, it's one of the largest and most important in the world. So if you're there and you're going to want a large date painting, he did make them in 8 different sizes. It's going to cost you well into 7 figures. If a small one comes up for auction, you might get lucky and get one for a few $100,000. Of course, if someone else in that room really wants that date and places some significance on that date, well, you could start a bidding war and the sky is the limit on the price for that one. The telegrams and the postcards are a little more reasonable. At auction, you can expect to pay anywhere between $5,000 and up to $20,000 plus for one of these. But I think the best way to experience Kawara's work is to go to one of the great institutions around the world. Some of the most important museums are likely to have a date painting or two, and they're likely to be on display because he is so important. But there are two places that I think should be on everyone's must-visit list for Kawara's work. The first is Glenstone, which is about 30 miles outside of Washington, D.C. Here you will find 3 large date paintings that were all created in 1969 that commemorate the Apollo 11 lunar landing that happened in July of that year. We don't always know why Kawara painted a painting on that particular day, but in this case we do. The 3 paintings are hung in a room designed in close collaboration with the artist and his estate, and it's spectacular. The second place I would go would be my favorite museum in the world, and that's the Dia Art Foundation's flagship location in Beacon, New York, which is about an hour north of New York City. Here you will find 36 date paintings on display, one for each year from the beginning of the project until the new millennium. And here's a little fun fact. Kawara also had white charcoal, which is traditionally used to keep fresh Japanese homes, installed underneath the wood floor. This charcoal absorbs chemicals and balances the humidity, making your visit just that much more pleasant. So what do you think about Kawara's work, or just conceptual art in general? And what do you think about my very first video? My name is Christopher West, and I've worked in the art world as a curator, an auction specialist, and an art dealer for over 20 years. I have loads of ideas for this video series, so if you liked this, if you learned anything, or would like to see more, please let me know down in the comments. And give me some encouragement too by doing all the things that help others find this video as well. If you're interested in buying or selling any works of modern or contemporary art and design, I would love to talk to you. I even do free evaluations, and I'll leave my contact information in the description below. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again on the next one. Ciao.